Hey Rebel fans, Kody here with your Sunday query vlog. First I want to say that the main thing I want to get across with a query letter is that you're going to write several drafts. I really strongly advise nobody to send out your first draft of your query letter, because chances are, even though it looks good to you, you're going to need another opinion. You should ask other people, does this interest you? Would this make you want to read the rest of it? Because your query should honestly kind of want to read like a jacket flap of a book that makes you want to pick up the book and read more about it. So that's kind of what I try to tell everyone, is to let someone else read your query letter. Don't just go on your first instinct. Because honestly, I wrote at least 5 drafts of my query letter for the Duff, and they were all very, very different, and I don't think the first one would have gotten any agent's attention. So, to kind of break it down, things, you're going to see the query in the sidebar, by the way. Things that I had to work on with this query were mostly trying to simplify it. One thing that I always tell people is you don't have to get every single subplot into the query. That's really not important. In fact, I didn't put any of the subplots in this query. I focused on the exact main point. The main point of the story is that Bianca is informed that she's the Duff. She has a relationship with Wesley, mostly to find distraction from her home life and from her body image issues. That's the main point of the story. There are subplots. In fact, there's a second love interest that comes in that was in the original query letter because he's a fairly big part of the book. But it didn't work for the query letter because, in all honesty, you didn't need to know about that. So that part was cut out of the query letter. So simplify the query letter. Get the main points out there, the things that the agent needs to know, the things that a reader is going to want to know. And leave a little bit of mystery, because we don't want everything handed to us. We don't want to know about every single subplot when we read the jacket flap of a book. We want to know what's going to interest us and then be surprised by some of it. Another thing that I was really working on with this query letter was making sure that the voice was conveyed, because my book has a very strong voice. Bianca is a very strongly voiced character, and I think that makes a lot of the book, and I wanted that to be conveyed to anyone who read the query letter. So you'll see sentences like, God, the man whore's arrogance really pisses her off, which is a very Bianca thing to say, and other little things that are just very her voice, and hint about what kind of character she might be. So I don't necessarily have to come out and say in this query letter that she's very cynical, but I think you can kind of see it when you read it. If your voice is important to the story, try to work it in. One thing that you might try is writing it in first person from your character's point of view, and then going back and changing it into third. That's one thing that I did for the final draft of this query letter. I wrote it in first person and then changed it later. And you'll see this query in the sidebar, like I said, and if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments, and I'd be happy to answer, because I love queries. It's one of my quirks. I think they're super duper fun. I love critiquing them, so I'm going to have fun when we get to critique our winners' queries. And I think that's it. We'll see you tomorrow with a super special surprise for next week, and that's all I have to say. Night, guys.